For 60 years, she was the world's governess, the magical nanny, the very picture of grace and wholesome family values. Julie Andrews was, and remains, a symbol of cinematic perfection. Her life, much like her most famous roles, appeared to be one of storybook endings and profound, unshakable dignity. He was her on-screen counterpart, the stern but dashing Captain Von Trapp, whose icy heart was melted by her warmth. Christopher Plummer was an actor's actor, a titan of the stage and screen, a man whose charm was as legendary as his talent. Together, they created a cinematic fairy tale that has captivated the world for generations. Their public story was one of a deep, abiding, and entirely platonic friendship. A bond forged in the Austrian Alps during the filming of The Sound of Music, and one that lasted for more than half a century. They spoke of each other with warmth, with humor, and with a respect that was palpable. But was that the whole story? For just as long as they were friends, whispers and rumors have shadowed their every interaction. It's a persistent Hollywood legend that suggests their on-screen chemistry wasn't just brilliant acting, but the reflection of a powerful secret passion. A love story that was never allowed to be written. Behind the friendly smiles and the public praise lay a secret that has been kept for decades. But was it the secret of a forbidden affair, or something else entirely? For over 60 years, a Hollywood legend has claimed that Julie Andrews was forced to hide a passionate romance with her co-star, Christopher Plummer. Now, after years of silence and his passing, the truth about what really happened between them is finally coming into focus. So what really went on between takes, and what was the nature of the bond they protected for a lifetime? Stay with us as we uncover the truth behind the affair that almost wasn't. Before she was Maria, before she was Mary Poppins, Julia Elizabeth Wells was a young girl from Walton-on-Thames, England, with a miraculous voice and a turbulent childhood. Her home life was a far cry from the cheerful, stable environments she would one day portray on screen. Her parents' marriage dissolved amidst the turmoil of World War II, and young Julie was left to navigate a fractured family life. It wasn't until she was 15 that she learned a painful truth. The man she called Dad was not her biological father. Her mother had an affair, a foundational secret that Julie would protect from the public for decades. This early life was marked by instability and even poverty. Living with her mother and stepfather, Ted Andrews, she faced further hardship. Her stepfather was an alcoholic, and his behavior grew so menacing that Julie felt she had to put a lock on her bedroom door just to feel safe. In this bleak environment, her voice became her escape, and what a voice it was, a staggering 4-octave soprano that was both powerful and pure. Her stepfather, recognizing its potential, began pushing her onto the stage. She became the family's primary breadwinner while still a child, a burden of responsibility that would shape the rest of her life. By her late teens, she was a rising star in London. It was there she met a handsome young set designer named Tony Walton. They were childhood sweethearts, and their romance was born of shared artistic ambition and genuine affection. They married in 1959, the same year Julie was cementing her status as a Broadway legend in My Fair Lady. To the world, they looked like the perfect couple, young, brilliant, and ready to take on the world. In 1962, they welcomed their daughter, Emma Walton Hamilton. Julie's career was a runaway train. She was cast in Disney's Mary Poppins, a role that made her an international superstar and won her an Academy Award. Tony even designed the costumes for the film. They were a creative team, partners in life and art. Yet, the very success that defined them began to create fissures in their foundation. The demands of Hollywood were immense. Long separations became the norm. In her own memoirs, Andrews later described this period with painful honesty, saying the marriage was buckling under the obvious strains of their careers. She was lonely, her marriage was rocky, and her head was filled with clutter and garbage. It was in this state of personal turmoil, professionally triumphant but emotionally adrift, that she flew to Salzburg, Austria, in the spring of 1964. She had no idea that the man she was about to meet would spark a connection so intense it would fuel rumors for the rest of their lives. His name was Christopher Plummer. A Canadian-born actor of immense talent and even greater charisma, he was a giant of the Shakespearean stage. He seemed almost the opposite of the wholesome musical he was about to film. He was initially hesitant to take the role of Captain Georg Von Trapp in The Sound of Music, famously dubbing it The Sound of Mucus. But the part was too good to refuse, and so he arrived in Austria. Like Andrews, Plummer was also in a complicated personal situation. He was married, but was also a notorious bon vivant, a man who enjoyed a good drink and the company of beautiful women. He was witty, urbane, and had a mischievous glint in his eye that suggested he didn't take life, or Hollywood, too seriously. When Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer first met on set, the connection was instant and undeniable. It was a chemistry that rocketed past the script. Crew members and fellow actors noticed it immediately, the way they looked at each other, the shared laughter between takes. Julie, with her disciplined professionalism and innate warmth, was the perfect foil for Christopher's roguish charm. He, in turn, brought a much-needed astringency to the film, as Andrews herself would later admit, saving it from becoming overly sweet. It's here, in the breathtaking landscapes of Salzburg, that the legend begins. The story, whispered for over 60 years, is that this intense connection quickly blossomed into something more, that the long days of filming bled into evenings filled with deep conversation. They were two people at a crossroads, both in struggling marriages, both parents, grappling with the immense pressures of fame. In each other, they found a kindred spirit who understood the unique loneliness of their world. But did it ever cross the line? Publicly, Andrews maintained her composure. She had her young daughter, Emma, with her on set, a constant reminder of her duties as a mother and a wife. This, according to Plummer's own joking admission years later, was a significant obstacle. When asked about a potential romance, he quipped, "We should have had a huge, smashing affair." But there was no time, and Julie had her children with her, which was most inconvenient, I thought. While said in jest, this comment has long been seen by many as a veiled acknowledgement of the powerful attraction between them. The on-screen love story was so believable because, as the legend insists, it was fueled by a real, powerful connection that sparked the moment the director yelled, "Cut." As filming for The Sound of Music moved from Austria to Hollywood soundstages, the sheer intensity of the connection between Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer became the talk of the set. The rumor mill began to turn, creating a story of a passionate relationship that was becoming increasingly difficult to hide. This was 1960s Hollywood, an era that, despite the counterculture, was still ruthlessly protective of its stars' images. Morality clauses in contracts were standard, giving studios the power to ruin careers over any hint of scandal. Julie Andrews wasn't just any star, she was the face of family entertainment. An affair with her married co-star, while she herself was a married mother, would have been catastrophic. It would have shattered the very image that had made her America's sweetheart. The studio, 20th Century Fox, was banking everything on The Sound of Music. Its success depended on the audience believing in the purity of its heroine. The long-standing Hollywood legend suggests that when studio executives heard the whispers, their reaction was swift and severe. According to these rumors, both Andrews and Plummer were discreetly warned that their careers would be over if any scandal emerged. They would be blacklisted, their public personas shattered. Whether these meetings actually happened or are just part of the myth, the pressure was undeniably real. Julie Andrews was in an impossible position. On one side was the electrifying connection with a man who seemed to understand her soul. On the other was everything she had worked for since she was a little girl. Her career wasn't just a job. It was her identity, the thing that had lifted her family from poverty. And beyond that, there was her daughter, Emma. The thought of her child being caught in the crossfire of a public scandal, mirroring the instability of her own childhood, was unbearable. This is the heart of the legend, a story of a woman faced with a monumental choice. Not necessarily between a man and her career, but between giving in to a powerful attraction and upholding the sense of duty that had guided her entire life. The climax of this secret story, as it's been told for decades, wasn't a dramatic confrontation. It was a quiet, soul-crushing decision. The legend says Julie Andrews, the woman who seemed to have it all, had to choose which part of her life to sacrifice, and that she chose her career and her family. That it was a choice rooted in the painful lessons of her own childhood. She would not put her daughter through the public shame a scandal would create. According to this narrative, she let go of a powerful romance to preserve everything else. The story goes that they made a pact of silence, to never speak of what had happened between them. They would go on to promote The Sound of Music as colleagues and friends, their brilliant performances forever masking the rumored heartbreak that lay beneath. But what's the truth? The reality is that the end of this intense period did not save her marriage to Tony Walton. The cracks were already too deep. They divorced in 1968, citing the pressures of their separate careers, a reason that was undeniably true. The emotional turmoil of this entire era, including the clutter and garbage she felt in her head, was very real. The intense, complicated bond she formed with Plummer was certainly part of that picture, but both of them would remain firm for the rest of their lives that it never crossed into a physical affair. The vow of silence wasn't to hide an affair, it was to protect a friendship. They had to navigate the rumors and speculation for over 60 years. They kept their promise. They built separate lives, had other relationships, and achieved legendary status in their own right. But the ghost of the rumor, of the story that the world wanted to be true, would linger between them forever. After the whirlwind of The Sound of Music, Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer embarked on distinctly different, yet parallel paths. Their public story was clear. They were good friends, and that's all. And in every way that mattered, this was the truth. Their shared experience, and the rumors it spawned, forged a different kind of bond, one of deep, unspoken understanding. 1969, Julie Andrews married the acclaimed director Blake Edwards. Theirs was a powerful Hollywood union that lasted 41 years until his death in 2010. She described her marriage to Edwards as a true love story, and they built the stable family life she had always craved, even adopting 2 daughters from Vietnam. Christopher Plummer also remarried, finding a lasting partnership with actress Elaine Taylor, to whom he was married for over 50 years until his death. He continued his illustrious career, finally winning an Academy Award late in his life. Whenever they were asked about a romance, both Andrews and Plummer stuck to the script. They handled it with grace and humor. In a 2015 interview, Andrews directly addressed the lifelong speculation, stating plainly, "We were never an item, as they say. But now, we are the best of friends, and that's lovely." Plummer, in that same period, admitted that while they should have ended up together, geography and circumstance prevented it. When a journalist pointed out that Andrews believed their enduring friendship was possible precisely because they never became a couple, Plummer conceded, "That's probably true." These public statements were the official story, and by all accounts, the true story. It was a masterclass in discretion, one that protected their families, their careers, and the sanctity of their very real friendship. Still, those who knew them saw a connection that went beyond a simple working relationship. Friends noted how Plummer's entire demeanor would shift when Julie entered a room. There was a light in his eyes, reserved only for her. It wasn't a threat to their marriages, but an acknowledgement of a profound, lifelong bond that had its own unique place. They were a platonic love story, perhaps, but one built on a foundation of chemistry so powerful, it created a Hollywood legend. On February 5, 2021, Christopher Plummer passed away at the age of 91. Tributes poured in from around the globe, but the world waited to hear from one person. How would Julie Andrews say goodbye to her Captain Von Trapp? Her official statement was elegant, and heartfelt. "The world has lost a consummate actor today, and I have lost a cherished friend," she said. "I treasure the memories of our work together and all the humor and fun we shared through the years." It was a beautiful tribute to a dear friend, perfectly consistent with the narrative they had maintained for 60 years. But for those who understood the depth of their bond, her words carried a much deeper meaning. The grief was not just for a cherished friend, but for a unique, life-altering partnership. Her public statement was the final act of protecting their private world. So what about the final admission from the title? It wasn't a public confession of an affair. There was no tell-all interview. The admission was something quieter and far more profound. It was in the depth of her grief, a sorrow that clearly carried the weight of more than just a casual friendship. It was the final, unspoken acknowledgement that their connection was one of the most significant of her life. This silent confession reframes her entire legacy. The poised and pristine Dame Julie Andrews is a woman who shared a powerful, singular bond with her co-star, and together they weathered a lifetime of speculation with incredible grace. The choice she made in her 20s, to honor her duties and nurture a friendship rather than pursue a fleeting passion, echoed through the rest of her life. This wasn't about regret, but about love in its most enduring form. It was a final tribute to the man who was her truest partner on screen, acknowledging the depth and reality of the bond they shared. The 60-year-old rumor had run its course. With Plummer's passing, the need for deflection and jokes was over. What remained was the truth of a great love story, a platonic one, full of respect, humor, and a connection that will, like their film, last forever. The story of Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer is a powerful reminder that behind every Hollywood legend, there is a human heart. What do you think? Was their incredible chemistry just brilliant acting, or was it the sign of a deep, platonic love story? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you love uncovering the hidden stories of classic Hollywood, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss our next journey into the untold tales of the silver screen. The tale of Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer is more than just a rumored affair. It's a story about choices, friendship, and the immense pressure of public life. For 60 years, they played their parts to perfection, both on screen and off. They were the best of friends, a model of grace and discretion. The legend of their secret love persists not because it was true, but because their connection felt deeper than a movie could contain. It suggests that the most powerful love stories are not always the romantic ones. Sometimes they are the friendships that endure for a lifetime. The choice Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer made was to protect that friendship against a world that wanted them to be something more. She achieved unparalleled success, built a family, and became an icon of enduring grace. And she did it while nurturing a quiet, profound bond with a man she called a cherished friend. Her so-called final admission wasn't a scandalous headline, but a quiet confirmation of a profound and lasting love. It doesn't tarnish her legacy, it deepens it. It reveals the humanity behind the perfect image and reminds us that the hills will forever be alive with the sound of their music and with the echo of a truly legendary friendship.